Hello, everybody. Amy Hunter. We will be recording soon when Sam gives us the thumbs up to make things happen. Okay, you ready?
Here we go.
I can't see anymore. I swear. Okay, I'm ready. Hi, this is Mish Hancock, and you are listening to Mishmash, a place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, blah, 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 blah.
You're
never
live.
messed this up, and I messed up. That's all right.
Oh.
That's what's fun about the live thing. I messed up twice today.
I know,
I should have been like, you know how they do, I never do them, but you see people that are like doing, they're like, blah, 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 like they're getting ready.
Yeah.
I don't do those. Maybe I should. Maybe I should take it up. All right, I'm ready. Hi, this is Mish Hancock, and you are listening to Mishmash, a place where I get to talk to the weird, wacky, wonderful people of this world, people I adore and want to know more about. Today, my guest is Amy Hunter. Amy joined Children's Hospital in St. Louis, Missouri as the Manager of Diversity and Inclusion. Her responsibilities include understanding and addressing health disparities, training, strategy, and integration planning for the hospital. Amy has been seen on CNN, ABC, NBC, PBS, and NPR. She has published works and presented on issues of race and social justice throughout the United States and globally. And today she's on Mishmash. I am totally honored. Thank you for being here, Amy.
It's a treat to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, so you were one of our TEDx Gateway Arch speakers.
I was.
Which was an awesome talk.
Thanks.
And you talked about lucky zip codes, and that talk resonates with me today. I so think about it in so many ways. Just talk about what you shared with us with lucky zip codes.
So I'm pursuing my PhD in critical race theory, and Ferguson happened, and it seemed like people were really confused about how this happened, what was happening, what were the goals or hopes or dreams of the protests that happened. And so I used my TED Talk to kind of explain that. And one of the things here in St. Louis we talk about a lot is, what high school did you go to?
Yes, we do.
And
all the time.
All the baggage
One of
that
our
carries.
questions.
Yes.
And that says something about you as soon as you say the name of your high school.
Yeah, usually we're trying to find out your socioeconomic background. Yep. And so I'd really like for us to get close to people without our high school question. And I asked people to, one of the things I asked during the TED Talk is ask people to imagine falling in love with each other, and how much easier the world would be, and our solutions to problems around social justice or racial inequality, how we could find those things together if we could love each other.
Right. And that's what it's really all about,
Yeah.
you know, but there's such barriers to it for some people, I find. I mean, I'm totally loving. I love everybody.
You are.
And I feel like everybody's part of my family. Like so what people have said is, Mish, no strangers. Well, I don't, because I kind of feel like, well, we kind of all are related and know each other anyway. So just, let's get through all that and just start talking. But some people have a really difficult time with relating with other people. And to me, that says something more about them, of course, than anybody around them. But how do you, like with what you do with the hospital?
Yeah.
Tell me about what you help with people with there and the hospital and the organization as a whole.
Yeah, so the hospital's healthcare. So we know that in every institution, unconscious bias is part of the institution and part of what happens within that institution. Certainly within healthcare, the same is true. And so the same kind of rules actually apply to education and healthcare, certainly at my institution, but all healthcare institutions. And so that fictive kinship that I mentioned during the TED Talk, as if we could treat each other as if we were kin, also applies to healthcare with our nurses, our social workers, our clergy, our doctors, that if those people who are providing a service can see the new person, the patient, and their families as if they're part of their family, then what would we do? What recommendations would we have to the family?
Kind of look beyond their health issues and the disease and look
Absolutely.
at them as a person and what
or
they're
look at them as a
experiencing.
family member, like more than just a person.
Oh,
Like that's
yes,
your cousin,
gotcha.
that's your sister you're talking to. What would you say to your sister? What would you recommend for next steps or next procedure? How would you give them instructions on how to go home?
Right.
And it would be a little different. We'd say it in a way that might be a little more explaining to people, or sometimes maybe even a little more aggressive than we would ask a stranger to do for some of our therapies. So we really want our surgeons to cut on those kids as if they're their own kid.
Right.
And take their time and do a great job, which is the great part about working at children's hospitals. We have got great people.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So that makes it easy to go every day. Yeah, absolutely.
And does what you do also go into insurance? Because I hear... So a friend of mine, her father, and she said so her father went through cancer, and then she has a really good friend that went through cancer, and she said her friend had really awesome insurance. Her father did not. And she said she could totally tell the difference between the level of care her friend got and the care her father got. And he was completely judged by the insurance he was on, which makes my heart just break. And it's so sad. Because, again, that's not looking at a person in a loving way. That's just looking at them like, well, you have that insurance. I mean, is that addressed with what you do?
Actually, so we're big push for Medicaid expansion, which may not happen under this administration. But really the reason why we have such a strong push is because children are covered under Medicaid. And so when we think about Medicaid expansion, about 63% of the people who are covered under Medicaid are children.
Wow.
And so when we didn't expand, then that does limit our services, which is why we really support that initiative and that effort, which is why when we're looking at the ACA repeal without a replacement, we're concerned about the quality of care that kids will get.
Right.
And if we are forced to then use Medicaid, which also has an elderly component to it, that people will forget that it's also for children and infants. And so we want to make sure that we provide the best care. We're committed to that as an organization. In fact, our saying is we do what's right for kids. Mm-hmm. So we're going to do what's right for kids regardless. We do have a foundation. We're always looking for people, if they want to support our foundation, really to cover some of those shortfalls so that we don't have to turn people away. We don't turn any patients away ever. Ability to pay is not a question with children and infants. So,
that's so good.
And really the generosity of St. Louisans is shown through because often people will donate to make sure kids who wouldn't get those services are able to access those services. So we've got cool stuff. We've got vans that go out to communities for kids that may never get to a pediatrician or a dentist. We've got a dental van and an asthma van. Yeah, really cool stuff.
Oh, that is cool.
Yeah.
And so do they show up at like schools?
They do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, there's a so I live in Hillsboro, and I know there's a dental van that comes out to Hillsboro.
Yes, that's our van.
Is it? Can anybody
St.
use
Louis
it?
Children's
That'd be
van.
a lot easier than having. Because I thought, well, could I go? I want
children.
the dental van.
Children.
Okay, I'll just bring that up. I can't pass for a child.
No.
Dang it. All right. No, but I do love that. I think that's an awesome service.
Well, the dental van is really important because how well you take care of your teeth also impacts your heart and your bloodstream and your blood. So when we think about preventative services for hypertension and drug heart disease, like dental care is really, really important for those things. Yeah.
And getting a cleaning should not be a difficult thing
and it
to
shouldn't
take
be
your
a
child
privilege.
to go
It should be a right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. So and plus Children's Hospital, it's decorated so awesome, right?
Like you get excited just
kids,
going in.
Because if you're going to be in the hospital, let's be in some place that feels happy and not gray walls.
Oh, absolutely. And during the holiday season, so we celebrate the 3 major holidays in December. It's the only time we decorate the hospital. We have a winter wonderland. There's a Kwanzaa Kanara. There's a menorah there and gifts for everyone because who really wants to be in the hospital during the holidays?
Right.
So we make it as fun can be. Like it is, I mean, working there brings me joy.
Right.
And for the kids that are there, we have our foundation. So one of the things that our philanthropy does, they raise money so that the teenagers that are in the hospital during prom time can have a teenage prom.
Oh my gosh. I think I saw a commercial
good.
about that. That is so lovely.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to miss that.
No. And they do everything there. So they get somebody to do their hair and they get a dress. They get to pick what dress they want to wear and they do their makeup. And it's just so beautiful. And what kid wants to miss out on those moments?
Well, yeah, can you imagine I missed my prom because I was in the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah,
but not at Children's
awesome.
Hospital. We have one for you.
You guys really think outside the box.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Ooh, congratulations.
We have a really good president, Joe Magruder. She's a woman. She's amazing. She's supportive. She's smart. She's wonderful. It's really been an honor to work there.
Very cool. Well, we're going to take a quick break, ma'am, and we will be right back with Amy Hunter. I love that.
Yeah, it's super cool.
You guys have great commercials, by the way.
Yeah, the Guardian
They
ones?
really
I know, I
touch
like
you.
that.
You know, and they get in, and you recognize them. You know how sometimes you don't, like, you're like, I don't know, it was a good commercial, I don't know who it was. You know what I mean? But, yeah,
The
but
Guardians of
but
Childhood.
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a big hit. And they have, like, people who, like, dress up in the Guardian outfits, and it's like Staff Appreciation Day. They're always looking for volunteers. I'm like, yeah, I'm more like the little eye thing on the I don't know if I'm the slender version of that superhero. Like, I need, like, maybe a Spank to go in my outfit with the cape. Maybe the cape is a shawl.
Come on, you are adorable. You know it. You know it. So, no, but it is, I mean, I can't imagine. I think that has to be a doctor or nurse taking care of those kids. I think that has to be difficult.
Actually, it's everybody. So the people in the cafeteria also take good care of the people. Right. Because parents are there and they have to eventually eat. And so even when you're in our cafeteria, the people are so loving and kind and good and sweet and just so thoughtful. Like if there's a parent crying, they go talk to the parent. I mean, they're just good. It's good.
So I like that. That's awesome because everybody is really involved with
Everybody's
what's going
important.
on.
Yeah.
That is very awesome. We like that inclusivity.
We do. We love noticing each other in that way. Yeah.
And being kin.
Yeah, being kin. My sister works there.
Kinship. I love it. Are you ready for us to start again?
I sure am. Here
we go. And we are back with Amy Hunter. So, I love, social justice is a big deal. As you know, I mean, at TEDx Gateway Arch, we're all about inclusivity and social justice. But where did this start with you? Was there an event or something that happened you went, no, this cannot be. I'm going to start talking about this, or I'm going to be involved with it?
When I was in 8th grade, I made a statement to my parents that black people weren't as smart as white people. And my mother sent me to a Catholic school here in town to learn about racism, and I did. And I understood that the educational system was not fair to black people, that the honors classes were all white in my community on purpose, and it wasn't by accident. And it wasn't because white people were smarter than black people. Like, I had an epiphany and a moment, and got called the N-word a lot of times, so figured some stuff out as a young person. So I probably became an activist at 14.
I love it.
And then worked really hard to get more African Americans in our honors and AP classes in my high school. And have been encouraging people kind of the entire way. So I'm grateful for my parents' clarity about who I am and what is real, and trying to describe to me and explain to me what systemic racism looks like within schools was probably a challenge to a 13-year-old. But they gave me some great experience and wonderful support. So,
and don't you feel like, I mean, to me, that was the gift of Ferguson, was that it made us all, because obviously something was bubbling there, people. It didn't just happen for no apparent reason. I mean, there was a lot going on. I just watched on Netflix 13th.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Ava DuVernay is like amazing.
Talk about an eye-opener.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I have to say, I had no idea. And I think there's so many stories like that. Like, because we do not know, because if you're not involved with it, right, you may not know. I mean, I myself had a situation with the Department of Social Services that I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, I felt like they were very corrupt, and I'm thinking, no one knows how corrupt this place is unless you have to deal with them.
Yeah.
Right? And that's how I felt about 13th, talking about the prison system. I had no clue.
Yeah, but there have been a lot of people here in St. Louis that have been working on the school to prison pipeline long before Ferguson.
Dr. Norm White was one of our TEDx Gateway speakers, and he talks about that. But go ahead, tell me who else.
Yeah, so about 8 years ago, there was a coalition. It was called ACAP, and it was with Legal Services, the YWCA, the Ethics Project. I'm trying to remember who. Reddick Hudson was there. So there were about 10 or 15 people who were involved and really working on strategies to get, at the time, St. Louis Public Schools to eliminate their suspension and expulsion of K through 5. And at that time, so almost 5 years ago, Dr. Adams, who is superintendent of schools now, agreed to that, which was great. And now they've kind of put it in full force and in swing in St. Louis Public Schools. And I think 2 other school districts have signed on. But it does take into account, Michael Brown's mom talked about school the day he was killed and laying in the street. And so there are majority white Americans did not understand what the talk was, right? So the first time we heard about the talk was 3 days after Mike Brown was killed, and I was in Tracy Blackman's church explaining the talk that I gave to my kids, which was part of my TED Talk. And it hit the wire. And I remember just being really confused, like, why is this news? Because everybody knows this. And then realized
we'll
most white Americans don't know this.
No.
They didn't know. Like, we have to have these conversations with our children, not just with police, but with school, right? That we have to prepare our young black and brown boys in particular to understand that they may face racial discrimination by the police, which is really odd because the police should be there to protect and serve you, not to harm or hurt you. But that has not been the history of policing in America. So,
but it is an eye opener to know that talk is going on, and
absolutely,
my parents never had that talk with me.
They didn't have to,
right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and to be quite honest with you, you know, when I was caught speeding one time, young gal caught speeding, and not even a question of giving me a ticket. He's just like, just watch yourself, don't go so fast.
I think more importantly, you weren't afraid for your life in doing that. So, and so. Safe has a coded language around safe where. Just because it's all white space doesn't mean it's safe for everyone.
Exactly.
And just because it's all black space doesn't mean that it's unsafe.
So what is the suggestion to these young black males when it comes to police? What do you tell them?
Unfortunately, we don't tell them anything different, not because of Ferguson. What's been really helpful is that there have been lots of Know Your Rights campaigns, and but again, you're still preparing kids for violence. And I just want people to understand how interlinked these are. So we prepare girls for violence too. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same kind of violence. So we say that boy might be dressed up really nice, but he still might be not that nice.
Right.
And if you need to call me, and I'm not going to ask you a bunch of questions. So we prepare our daughters for the rape culture that exists in the United States. Now, if you're a man and you're raped and you're called a fag, that's a hate crime.
Right.
And the FBI investigates that rape. But if you're a woman and you're called the B word, your local police come. And wouldn't it be great if the FBI investigated every female that was raped?
Interesting.
It would be a great culture if people understood that would be the penalty. But women are not valued in the same way men are valued. And so their rape is not the same rape.
And, you know, we had this conversation with our daughter recently about if you are ever, because she's 15, so she's definitely at the place where she could be, at a party and going, whoa, not cool. So, and it was a suggestion from an article, but the idea was when you're texting us, if you are in a situation you need to get out of, you want us to come get you, just text an X. That'll be the sign. Then we'll know. We will come get you. And you unfortunately have to have that talk.
Well, we need to have the talk with boys, right?
Right.
So what if we prepared our boys to never rape a girl?
Yes.
That'd be awesome. Like we could prepare our police to never kill unarmed black and brown people.
Exactly. Well, yes. And so but you're right, because we're looking at it from the side of you might be a victim. Let's have this talk as opposed to you might be the victimizer.
Absolutely.
So we need to have this talk that's not what you do. And it is true. It's it goes beyond just and then you've got the parents that maybe don't have everybody just be loving. Could be.
Well, we get in some of the systems that keep people afraid. Right. So if we think about why kids don't like going to school, we could change the system of education so kids would enjoy it and see it as a great experience where they're learning new information. Because some kids do.
Right.
But not all kids. And we could change the culture that says, you know what, women are our most prized possession. Men understand that. We don't harm our most prized possession. We could have a community of people here in the United States to say, you know what, black and brown people are wonderful people, and that there isn't a debate every time somebody says Black Lives Matter. Like, that should have never been a debate. Like, of course they do. Yes, they do. Absolutely they do. Could have easily been the response instead of All Lives Matter.
Right. I got what you're saying. And there was a reason for that being put out there, Black Lives Matter. It wasn't that, of course, all lives matter, but there's a reason for this.
Well, white lives really matter.
apparently.
That's right. They matter a whole lot, right? They're not being targeted.
I love that you and other people are opening
Yeah.
up this conversation and bringing such awareness to it, because that's where it starts, right?
Yeah.
Starts with awareness. Now we need to have action behind
Absolutely.
the awareness.
And to notice that these things are happening globally. So we can't talk about Black Lives Matter without talking about what's happening in Palestine as well.
Exactly.
Ending oppression should be a global movement, not just a local one.
Right. And it amazes me that, so I think of genocide. I can't wrap my brain around that still happens.
Right.
It's
the
like,
U.S. has
what?
set the pace pretty nicely, right? So the Native American population, they just recently had the Day Without an Immigrant. I was like, so the white people aren't going to go to work? Because the only natives to America would be the Native Americans.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
But just noticing, like, oh, you think these are people of color? Country
It's
and
almost like
rare.
everything
Yeah.
that happens, we should just call you so we get that perspective. Seriously.
I would be fine with that. Just
Can I
call
just
me.
call you and go, okay,
Absolutely.
is this... I'm looking at it from this perspective, but I want you to tell me what the Amy Hunter perspective
Right.
is, because it really does open up your mind and make you think. Makes you
Yeah.
think. And that's what we need. We need to be kind of think about this. Think about what
Right.
that really is. Because I don't think that we do all the time. You go, oh, this is a good thing. And well, but wait.
Yeah.
Can I flip this coin and just show you another side of it?
Yeah.
Which I think is important. And I also think it's growth for everybody.
Yeah, and I think people are really trying to figure out this,
Yeah.
especially since I think there's huge intersections between sexism and racism and homophobia, anti-Semitism,
figure it out.
Yeah, Islamophobia. They're all connected to each other.
And again, we're all kin.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
we better figure out what we're doing to our own kin, right?
Absolutely. Nobody wants this.
No, I
Yeah,
don't.
I don't.
So we will be right back with Amy Hunter. I love this. This is so good. Now it's question time. We
Oh.
just like
What were her
blew
questions?
past us so quickly. Oh my gosh, and I had a hard time coming up with questions, so I hope I came up, because I want to keep going on, but I have this one thing that I really want to talk about. Yeah. That is on my head. It's not even really a question. It's more just like, give me something to start with. Okay. I'm ready when you are.
Maybe it should not have this much cleavage going live.
Here I am. I was like, I bought a Ramones shirt and had to wear it today. I'm a punk rocker at heart. I know.
Oh, I'm like the biggest hippie at heart.
Oh, I'm a total hippie. One of my new clients, he's like, you're a hippie marketer. That's what he called
Oh,
me.
nice.
I'm like, yeah, I am a hippie marketer. That's me.
That's a good thing.
Peace and love.
That's
you
right.
know? That's me.
Are you ready?
I'm ready. And we are back with Amy Hunter, and we have questions. I have questions. Okay, so this question, I don't even know if you can answer this one, but I want to get an idea from you, because this struck me recently. So a friend of mine who is quite well off, I was talking about, college for my daughter, and I got to start thinking about college, and I really haven't saved properly for college. All of that. Okay.
Yeah.
And he says, oh, well, when both of my boys were born, I just put $17,000 aside in a blah, blah, blah account, which magically grew, and now, they'll be taken care of for college. And I thought, really? Well, first of all, I never had $17,000 to set aside. And so you, who has lots of money, is going to end up paying $17,000 for your kid's education. I'm going to be paying a hell of a lot more. This is what I'm thinking. But then around that same time, I came across an article that talked about how the poorer you are, the more you end up spending on things, because, someone can go to a Sam's or one of those bulk places and buy 80 things of toilet paper for, 10 cents a roll, right? Whereas a person without a car that lives in a community where they can only go to their local gas station, and they're going to pick up 4 rolls of toilet paper for a heck of a lot more money than the 80-pack roll, It's almost like we've set up the system of our monetary system so it keeps people in a place. Like the American dream, what? No, it keeps you right there because you're constantly chasing your tail with that.
Yeah,
I want to hear your thoughts on this.
So I think that's definitely true. I don't think it's always true. So as we look at race and poverty and how differently they look, one of the things that we notice are opportunity hoarders, right? So we have lots of opportunity here in St. Louis. It's really not a bad place to live, but we also have racial bias. So noticing who gets to get hired when and how they get promoted or don't get promoted is really important, along with access to health care. So, when the crack epidemic was in play here in St. Louis, the people who were on drugs got sent to jail. Now that we have heroin and meth, the people get sent to hospitals.
Oh.
And so those systems work in tandem to each other. You're right. So there is no Sam's, there's no mall. There are very few banks. I think Regions Bank has banking in African American space. There's another one. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's one other bank. But it's very hard to get to a bank if you're in all black space, let alone a grocery store, right?
And then therefore have a checking account and all the things that you need to, and oh my gosh.
Yeah, great that we have wonderful clinics in those spaces for healthcare access, except they're not open 24 hours. So a lot of times people have to come to the emergency room if something happens after hours,
right?
Or if parents can't get off work before the clinics close. And so just noticing, there was a great research done for the sake of all, Jason Purnell at WashU, where the life expectancy between Clayton and North St. Louis was almost 18 years difference.
Oh my gosh.
And 10 miles apart from each other. So it's impacting our region in a really negative way around not just the quality of life, but how long you get to live based upon your zip code. So paying attention to that stuff is really important.
So I didn't even think of asking this, but I'm going to ask. So what in our region, what do you consider the unlucky zip code? What's the zip code that you're like, wow,
there's several.
Gonna be?
I would have said all of North St. Louis and part of North County for sure.
But they pay more taxes.
Yeah, Normandy pays more taxes than Ladue. Yeah, because the businesses pay taxes in those towns. So it isn't like the harder you work, the more money you make is not even real.
No, it isn't.
And so just kind of understanding like your friend who already had 17 grand, how they get to start off. But the same is true if your kid is going to one of our independent schools. But that looks like if you've gone to one and then your legacy and you understand how the system of education is already rigged towards rich kids versus poor kids. And education should be a right. Like it shouldn't matter what zip code you're in to get access to education, because that would then propel you for college and jobs and things like that.
Right.
Yeah. I think one of the other parts that we miss here in St. Louis, we've got really great community colleges that very few people want to go to, but they're amazing. Like your first 2 years of college are really exactly the same anywhere you go.
Right. And I think I read something recently that was like it's easier now for all of that to transfer. It used to be a time where they were trying to like, no, you just got to be 4 years with us. But I think, some of these kids, I don't know that they're exactly ready to just hop into dorm life. And so getting that 2 years, getting that under your belt first before you go hopping into the whole college experience, I think it's a great idea.
You can still have the college experience your junior and senior year.
Yeah, right. You can get plenty in.
You can, and even if it's only a year that you go to community college, valuing education, because the truth of the matter is without education past high school, it's very difficult.
Yes.
It's not impossible, but it is very difficult to get in. And most of the places that I've worked, even administrative assistants have college degrees now. Some have master's degrees. So the market, will call for us to do something different. So getting kids prepared will be important.
I have another question.
Sure.
Okay, so when we fill anything out about ourselves, it always asks for race.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sometimes it says, that you don't want to fill that out. Do you think we should always say, never mind, I'm not filling this out? Or do you think...
Why wouldn't we fill it out?
Well, I'm just wondering, how do you feel about that?
I think we should fill it out. I think we should be honest about filling it out. I know I've heard white people say, I don't fill it out because they're going to do extra things for black people. I'm like, where is that? I want to work there.
Like, why would I not? Why would I decline to answer? That's the thing. I was like, so if I decline to answer, I'm just wondering about that. That's an interesting
The other part
choice.
Is, kids of mixed heritage often have a hard time filling it out.
Oh,
Our EEOC report still says 5 categories, so usually it has a default. And it really isn't what you call yourself. It's really how the world perceives you. So as a person of color, fill it out. As a person of color, the world won't see you as a mixture of your parents. They'll see you as a person of color. And we do have a definition in our country of what black is. So we still have the 1-drop rule. It's very specific language. So 1/16 of black blood in your system means that you are identified as black in this country.
Okay.
Our census data has changed over time about who's considered white. So Northern Africans are still considered white. Asians used to be considered white until World War II. And then, the Japanese could not be considered white any longer. So they took their property away, put them in internment camps. It was pretty horrible. Stole all their stuff.
I did not know that. Oh, there's so
and
many
they
things I don't
lost
know.
their citizenship. Yeah. So paying attention to how the census data is being used, kind of like the DREAM Act, and how it was used to protect people, and now it's being used to target populations of people.
And I think we see that with a lot of things. With it looks like a good idea, but
or it was under one administration.
It was, and so that goes back to the whole thing, which drives me insane, is the whole loopholes, finding loopholes with that people do. I'm like, no, we should follow by the intent of what was set forth. Sure. Not by the wording and try to play with it and try to figure out ways to make it work for you in a way that's unfair to other people. But it's like laws, right? What was the intent behind the law? You don't get to now use the wording of that law to mess around and
Sure.
do something crazy. Think of the intention first. And I wish we did that.
Yeah, some of that. I mean, of course, at the time our Constitution was written, black people weren't really people, so they weren't included. So the intention was colonization, right?
Right.
So if we're going to do something different, it would have to be decolonization, which looks different too. It looks like community building, community organizing. It means that families don't look all one race or one color anymore. And I don't mean that they have to be intermarried, but that we could claim each other. Like you could be my sister.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's be sisters.
Yeah. So that's decolonizing though, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
And so I think we struggle sometimes because we struggle with the truth that people in our country did and still do benefit from things because of their race. I usually use hair shampoo in the hotels as one of those examples.
That is so true.
Yeah, because they give white people free shampoo. Like,
and I don't even need it.
I need oil for my hair.
Yeah, no.
It'd be great if they gave me oil when I went to a hotel.
That is such an interesting thought. But that's so true. Yeah. That is so true. It's like, okay,
it's a little
thanks.
thing, but it's a big thing.
This is not going to help me.
Right. And think of all the other ways systems are set up to help some people over other people.
Oh, do you have any more examples like that? That's really interesting, the hotel example.
Oh, like
I will never look at
like flesh tone Band-Aids.
Oh yeah, Flesh. I always like that
Flesh.
one. That one I'm like
buying the free lipstick you get when you get like the thing in the mall. That's kind of nice, but I can't usually wear that shade.
Yes, gotcha.
Although there have been the cosmetic industry's actually figured this out. So they have like
Right.
an ethnic drawer now where they swap out your lipstick and your blush so you could wear it. I mean, so I'm saying that to say we can figure these things out.
Right.
But we can't be colorblind doing it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks for bringing attention
You can be color
to all
conscious.
of this. Okay. No, but it's true. I will tell you, I never thought of that hotel shampoo thing, and that is so true. It never dawned on me. Well, I never use it, like I said.
I think we got to get closer to each other, just across racial lines, because then we'll know
exactly
more about each other.
And just having that and understanding those other people, that's huge.
Mm-hmm. Well, people of color understand a lot about white people, so it'll have to be the one in reverse.
Okay. All right. White people.
That's right. The white people are
going
to have to learn more.
Well, no, but I agree.
want to.
Because
I mean,
it's not as in your face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like you have to take the time to go learn it. And I think that is very important for our country because we are the melting pot. So let's be happy with our melting pot instead of so bizarre.
Like
a salad bowl. We should go to salad bowl.
Yeah, otherwise we all taste the same. Nobody's trying to be the same
I'm
flavor.
with you. Salad bowl. I like that. I love it. Thank you, Amy,
Thank
so
you.
much
Thanks
for being here.
me.
I have loved having you here. Thank you, ma'am. And you all have been listening to Mishmash, so please come to iTunes and subscribe. And we always have interesting people on. Thank you. Have an awesome day. I love it. Thank you. That was so awesome. So interesting. I know you were just dying to come in here.
It's cool. I want to wait until you guys were done.
You guys be quiet. I need to get in there. I'm like, we're almost done.
Yeah, no, it's no problem. Yeah, I know.
Say goodbye. Bye.
Bye.
See you all later.